Welcome to the Simplified Stamper. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Hi everybody, welcome to the Simplified Stamper. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to bring you something really special. I've been working on a lot of watercolor projects here recently, and I have been asked by several people to show a video of how I do my watercolor projects. So that is what I'm going to bring to you today. I'm actually going to be working on a smaller sheet when I do watercolor projects because I'm frugal in all things. I actually normally watercolor on smaller pieces because then I can get more pictures per sheet of the watercolor paper. So this wasn't cut out of a page like with any purpose. I had different sizes that I was doing that were squares, and so that I had this extra piece. So that's actually how I came up with this. But I'm going to be painting on this one, and I'm just going to actually free paint like a sunset itself. And I just thought I'd show you how I'm doing it. I'll be using Mango Melody for the yellow. And I'll be using, this is Poppy Parade because I flipped, yeah, Poppy Parade for the red. And then I'll have Highland Heather for purple and a Pacific Point for the blue color. I have tried not to do this, but I feel like it's best if you just wet the whole paper before you start. So I'm using the Aqua Painters, which anybody who knows me also knows that I'm extremely skeptical about purchases. I was like, I don't need to buy that, I don't need to buy that. But come to find out, this was actually necessary. So I love these. Now, in full disclosure, I haven't bought a new one of these in a long time. This is several years old, and I've only been with Stampin' Up! For a few months. So this actually wasn't purchased through them. I probably need a new one. I hear their new one, like to get a new one changes everything. So I would suggest getting one from them. They come in a 2-pack for theirs. Remove this here. And I'm just going to start along the bottom, and I'm going to start with the yellow. So, and I kind of did this backwards because you need to kind of press on them while they're closed so the stamp pad touches the roof of the pad, and then you end up with this here to paint with. I am going to, and this will curl as it dries, but don't worry, you can actually flatten it back out. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the yellow, and I'm just going to start along the bottom and get it good and yellow, and then I'm going to fade it up because I want it to kind of like fade lighter as it goes up, and I can actually intensify the color later if I want to, but I just want to get that yellow smushed around. I found that if you don't wet the paper first while you're doing this, it will concentrate the color in one place, and it's a little hard to thin it out, which actually works to your advantage if sometimes you want to do a highlight that's darker. You just wait until it's dry, dry this out pretty good, add a little splash of color, and then you can add a swoosh, and it kind of intensifies it, and it's really nice. But for the most part, when you're starting out the sunset, you really want the colors to kind of blend together. So you want them lighter. You can add more, but it's really kind of hard to thin it out if you have it way too dark. So then the next color I'm going to do is going to be the Poppy Parade. And this I'm going to re-wet just a little bit, drop some water on here, just so it doesn't get too dark. And you can see how that fades out. Now I won't leave everything this dark, but this gives me like a, it gives me a guideline of where I'm trying to go. So hopefully you can see that. And then we have barking dogs. They don't like cars. Okay. So then we have, get this cleaned off just a little bit. And I'm going to pull in my Highland Heather. Again, it's dried out a little bit, so I'm going to kind of squeeze my pen so the water comes out. So it comes in much lighter than hitting directly onto the paper. I'll get this a little bit more. There we go. Go. And then the last, up at the very top, we're going to put some of the, and I have a really old rag right here. I'm going to dry these bristles just a little bit because this is already wet. I wet it pretty good. And I'm going to get a little bit of the Pacific Point, and I'm going to concentrate it way up here in the heavens, way up here where it's going to be way more dark. This is the skyline way up there. And I can, like I said, I can always add more if I want it really dark later on, but I'm going to keep this kind of at the top and then fade it in just a little. Okay, now this is not nearly as dark as I want it, but it gives me guidelines. It tells me where I'm going. And it's drying out a little bit, so I'm going to add some more water. This Poppy Parade, and it's very beautiful. And when you swoosh it with the yellow, it kind of shows up an orange. So you've got kind of the yellow and the red. If you get that red to be concentrated more up at the top. Get off to the side here. And then we're going to clean this off. There we go. Look at this. And I'm going to go into my purple. And we want to blend these two. We don't want there to be a demarcation point between the colors. You want it to blend. So I'm going to add quite a bit of purple here. To me, the colors might be wrong, but it kind of reminds me of a candy corn, but that might just be me. So we're going to put those together like that, and I'm going to add more of this blue. And see how it dried out, so it got really dark, so I have to kind of add some more water to it and get it to melt together. Dries, it kind of changes. It's a little bit of a chameleon. You'll see that these have blended in a little bit. They've lightened up as they've dried. Okay, so that's that. So for this demonstration, I'm going to use the Home to Roost stamp set. This is not available right now. It was a celebration set, and it's the only one I personally own right now that has grass in it. There is a couple of other really pretty stamp sets that I need to be getting because I use this enough that I just need grass. I need grass. And I have yet to purchase some because I do use it a lot, and I've been doing these paintings quite a bit. So obviously I'm going to need a stamp set that that's current, but this is what I have for now, so this is what I'm going to display it on. And then I'm going to get my acrylic block, and these are the the cling mount. These are the newer cling mount. They stick really well. And then I could do this in a green if I wanted to. I could also do this in a brown, but because I want this to kind of be like shadowy, I'm gonna go ahead and do it in my Memento black ink. And I'll show you how I do that here. I just kind of wing it. I'm going to go up real tall here on this side. There's ridges in the texture of the watercolor paper. So I could use, and if I was doing a sentiment, I absolutely would use my Stamparatus, because you're going to have some points that don't necessarily show up or stamp, and that's okay, because this is kind of abstract in nature. But if I was doing a sentiment, I would use my Stamparatus. That way I could go back over it again and stamp it again. Now I'm going to come down around this water because I want people to see this beautiful water that I've created. So I'm going to just do little bits of it here. And now you can see where this is actually starting to look like, I'm going to come back up in here, this is actually starting to look like a shoreline. And a little firm here, there we go. And you can kind of see that that almost looks like shoreline. Now I'm going to take this, it's just a scrap piece of cardstock, and I'm going to bring it down below the brown, kind of into that water line, okay? And if I wish, like I said, I wish I had regular grass, because I don't. And you want to make sure that it covers up the bottom of your paper, because you're going to come down here. And we're just going to add a few little tiny ones here, because this is going to represent the other side. Oh look, I did them right over the top of each other. Huh. This is going to represent the other side of the water. So we're just showing how it's on the other side of the lake as well. Do you see that? The next set I'm going to use is, I'm going to use these birds out of the Above the Cloud set. And I'm just going to leave it here for a second, make sure it gets into the little grooves. There we go. There is our beautiful watercolor picture. Now I'll go ahead and mount this to my card, and I'm actually going to mount this to a black card because I think that will make the colors pop really pretty. It's fun, it's beautiful, and I just love watercolor. So give it a shot and then post a picture on my Facebook page and let me see what you've done with your watercolor. Let me see if you've given it a shot. I'm really interested to see what everybody else does. Anyway, check out my next video for how I mount this picture. Bye! Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can find more of the Simplified Stamper on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.